In the wake of a colossal Elden Ring success, many Souls-likes have released in the past half-decade seeking their own spot in the Souls Hall of Fame. Games such as Black Myth Wukong and Lies of P have found great success, while many others have gone under the radar of the masses. Hello everyone, and welcome to the CT Gaming Lab, where I talk about games for both new and experienced gamers. If you enjoy the content, please leave a like and consider subscribing. In today's video, we'll be going over my first impressions for Wuchang Fallen Feathers. It is a brand new Souls-like action RPG set in the ancient lands of the Kingdom of Shu around the time of the late Ming Dynasty. It is a fantastical world filled with abominable demons, monsters, and mutated creatures. You play as Wuchang, a pirate warrior who has mysteriously been induced with amnesia via a disease known as the Feathering. Your immediate goal is to try to find a cure to restore your memories. Let's start with the first thing in your face, the graphics and performance. Visually, the game is stunning. Made in Unreal Engine, the game is vibrant and eye-popping. In the footage you're watching right now, I have textures and anti-aliasing set to the max, and pretty much everything else is reduced to low or medium. I personally still found the game to be very visually impressive and had no complaints with performance after the Day 2 patch. I played the game on PC Game Pass, and on Day 1 experienced some fairly significant frame drops and stuttering, but after installing a patch a few days later though, I was able to maintain comfortable frame rates consistently above 60 FPS. Something that was very reminiscent of Dark Souls was the vista points you find throughout your journey. Climbing up a level checkpoint like a mountaintop or high tower gives you the opportunity to look at how far you've gone or how far you have to go. Speaking of checkpoint vistas, the overall level design of the game was very reminiscent of classic Dark Souls. There's no map, and the world is not exactly an open world, as most of the paths are locked in by the environment, pushing the player in a forward direction. There are a lot of side paths to find loot and explore. Some places have optional side bosses that give essential items for progressing quests for some NPCs and keys to access locked areas. A welcome change that I did notice to the level design was that the game keeps you moving forward. Very rarely did I have to backtrack, and that was only when I hit a dead-end path a short trip from the main path. Shortcut ladders and doors will make the Souls-likes fan feel at home, leading back to a checkpoint and opening up the game world. As you progress through the game, the hub area NPCs, such as vendors and those with their own side quests, will follow you to new hub areas so you don't have to teleport back to the starting area. This was really just a small quality of life thing, but it's on theme with not making the player feel the need to backtrack. Areas will contain traps and enemies waiting to surprise the player, and even as a fairly careful Souls player, I found myself falling for them a lot in this game. There was one thing I found that was pretty annoying, which was that Wuchang can't swim. There are a few areas in the game that look like you should be able to access at a glance, but are in fact instant death spots. A good example of this is when I instantly died when trying to swim in a river that was 5 feet under me. In my opinion, they should have just blocked these parts off. Despite not being able to swim and survive some falls, the overall gameplay felt pretty good. The combat is a step up from many other Souls-likes in my opinion, and is definitely a step up from Software Souls combat. The combat follows a familiar dodge and attack loop with some added layers, borrowing some parts of other Souls-like games that have been released throughout the years. One nitpick I had right off the bat, though, was that there is a lot of animation locking. You can't dodge out of a lot of attacks, so you need to be more careful about when you choose to attack or punish an enemy. I got used to it fairly quickly, though, so it wasn't a big deal. It is worth noting that there is no carry weight in this game. All armor just gives you different stats and does not impact your dodging, speed, or iframes. An added plus is that transmog is built into the game at the start, allowing you to wear different armors for stats and have the cosmetics of other armors you own or have found. All enemies have a visible posture meter that can be built up. Hitting enemies with heavy attacks or from behind is the fastest way to build up posture damage. Once the posture meter is maxed out, the enemy's posture breaks and it becomes exposed, allowing the player to perform a critical hit. I had one complaint about this mechanic though, which is that on some enemies, the exposed spot is only in front of the enemy. Since you are mainly building up posture damage by hitting enemies in the back, sometimes you don't have enough time to make it to the front in order to exploit the critical hit posture break. I would also add that sometimes, even when you are right in front of an exposure spot, the game is very stingy about how close you need to be in order to use it. I found myself missing the opportunity to land a critical hit because I wasn't standing exactly in the right spot. Another side gripe I have about this game's combat is that there are way too many enemies with grab attacks. Grab attacks to me are a gimmick. They're not fun because they take control out of the player's hands for too long. You get grabbed and you just have to sit there watching your life get sucked away. An interesting mechanic I thoroughly enjoyed was the feathering mechanic. During combat, you have a resource called feathering. When you perform certain actions, such as perfectly timing your dodges, you receive a feathering charge. You can then use this charge to perform special moves, like instantly charging a heavy attack or quickly performing special attacks on certain weapons. Different weapons have unlockable nodes in their skill tree that allow the player to gain feathering charges more easily, such as landing 2 hits in a combo for the longsword. Every weapon that you find in the game belongs to a certain weapon type. From my experience in looking at the skill tree, there are 5 weapon types in the game: one-handed swords, axes, dual swords, spears, and longswords. I tried out all the weapon types and ended up choosing longswords and dual swords as my main weapons. While each weapon belongs to a weapon type, each weapon you find also has its own unique abilities and quirks. For example, the lashing whip weapon I found has a spinning whip ability as well as having a very long light attack range by extending itself. When it comes to using, upgrading, and trying out new weapons, Wuchang Fallen Feathers is very casual player friendly. All upgrades are done via the skill tree. This includes player stats, weapons, and abilities. As you defeat enemies, you get this game's equivalent of souls, Red Mercury, which is used as currency to buy items at vendors and to level up at shrines. When you go to level up, you convert your Red Mercury into a Red Mercury Essence, which essentially acts like a level point. You then use this Red Mercury Essence to unlock a node on the skill tree. Nodes can be simple stat buffs, increase your total feathering charge capacity, and even be weapon upgrades. When you go to upgrade your weapon, you will need more than just a Red Mercury Essence. You also need this game's equivalent of smithing stones called Red Feathers, which are found by exploring and defeating certain enemies. I personally felt that this leveling and upgrading system was incredibly simple, which is a positive in my opinion. Now, for a really massive positive for Wuchang Fallen Feathers, respeccing is completely free. You can respec at any shrine at any point completely for free. Simply go to your skill tree, select any node you want, and you will respec it, receiving all the resources used on that node back. I absolutely love this. I know that a problem that a lot of players have for Souls-likes is the unfriendliness of respec systems. Oftentimes, these games make you hunt for a rare item or purchase one at an exorbitant price. Wuchang Fallen Feathers allows the player the freedom to experiment and be creative with builds and playstyles at any point during a playthrough. The last main combat mechanic I thought was unique is tempering. Essentially, you're able to temporarily imbue your current equipped weapon with an attribute or element. The first one I unlocked was fire imbuement. Tempering your weapon is done by charges, not by a one-time use consumable item. You get 1 tempering charge per rest at a shrine, so most of the time you'll be using your tempering enchantment during boss fights or other challenging encounters. I thought this was a fun way to ensure you always have elemental effects on your weapon for those challenging encounters. This is unlike other Souls-likes when you're saving an item you found until after you've beaten the final boss.
Why am I here?
I came upon you in a brooklet some days past. You lay passed out due to the feathering. I moved you to the cave to recuperate.
The feathering?
Lastly, let's talk about the storytelling. In classic Souls fashion, most of the story is told via talking to NPCs around the world and learning about the state of the areas you're in. There are a limited number of cutscenes, and most of them are just boss intro sequences. The voice acting is pretty good. I played the game in English, and I believe they also have Japanese and Chinese dubs. Something that was really nice is that most of the time you only need to speak to an NPC once to exhaust all of their dialogue. In almost every other Souls-like I've played, you need to talk to an NPC over and over again until they start repeating their lines. I was pleasantly surprised when I didn't have to do that in Wuchang Fallen Feathers, but I still do it out of habit. According to the game's description, there are multiple endings, so there seems to be some level of replayability for the story. I personally haven't had the opportunity to test that, as this video is just a first impressions only. And with that, it's time to wrap up this video nicely with some dotted pros and cons. Let's start with the pros. After the Day 2 patch, the game runs well and looks good. The combat is impactful and takes many of the best parts of other Souls-likes like parrying, fun, flashy weapon abilities, and impactful criticals on posture breaks. There's a great armor system with the transmog system and armor having no carry weight. This is definitely a callback to OG Dark Souls in terms of connected level design and a feel for exploration. Now we'll move on to the cons. There are some instant death spots like a puddle of water directly under you, and these should just be blocked off instead of allowing you to walk into it. This wasn't a con to me, but it might be a turnoff for some people, so I decided to include it. There is no map, so you have to memorize and pay attention to your surroundings to get your bearings. This is a pretty specific one, but there are a lot of enemies with grab attacks. Grab attacks in general aren't too cumbersome, but so many enemies have it in this game, and so many of them are hidden, and it becomes annoying, as they take away control of your character. This will probably be a big con for experienced Souls players. Opening up the equipment menu takes up your whole screen, and it doesn't pause the game. So the game is still running while you are equipping gear, making you susceptible to attacks while you are unable to see anything or move. Hot swapping items mid-fight in Souls games is a very fun and high-level skill to learn, and it's a shame it's not in this game. Overall, I think Wuchang Fallen Feathers is a fun modernization of the Souls-like genre. It blends the classic Souls feel with a modern twist. Having played Dark Souls 1 through 3, Elden Ring, Sekiro, and many other Souls-likes, I felt right at home with Wuchang. It didn't feel like it was directly copying other games, and it definitely stood out on its own. I highly recommend picking up this game. It's available on Xbox Game Pass, but I do think that it is worth its full price of only $50. That wraps up our first impressions review of Wuchang Fallen Feathers. Let me know what you guys think about the game down in the comments. If you played it, do you agree or disagree with my take? The classic Souls fans out there, does this game seem interesting enough for you to pick it up? If you enjoyed the video and would like to see more videos like this, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.